Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is BrendenPlayz, and this, of course, is the show where we answer all of your questions, all related to WWE in the world of wrestling, as well as sports, movie, TV, and, of course, all about the BrendenPlayz channel as well. So, we have plenty to talk about this week, including the upcoming Extreme Rules pay-per-view. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about a few controversial things that's happened on Raw, and a few intriguing things that's happened on Raw, as well as the Women's Money in the Bank match that's happening on Smackdown. Do I like the idea? Do I not like the idea? And plenty more as well. Quick reminder that this weekend will be bragging rights on BrendenPlayz. The show will air at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. UK time, and of course, you can watch it anytime, any place after the stream has ended. And of course, the stream will be on YouTube and Twitch. So come along to the stream, support the stream as well, and just to join in the chat. Now, I know it's going to be on in the same day as Extreme Rules, so hopefully that doesn't bother many of you too much. It's going to be a little bit shorter of a pay-per-view than usual, not by much, but I'm expecting it to be about around an hour and 45 minutes because we have one match less than we normally do, so it might be a little bit quicker than normal, so that's a bonus or a negative, depends how you kind of view it. So that's on this Sunday, and it's actually going to be a pretty busy week for me coming up. Next week I have 3 exams, and once I finish those exams, I'm done for the semester. I don't think I really updated you guys with what's going on with my college situation. I do have one more semester to do, so I'm going to be staying on and doing another semester of college to get a marketing major, as well as the original sport management major that I've already gotten. So I'll be sticking around for one more semester at college, or university as we call it, whatever however you say it. So one more semester for me, and then I'll be out. I'll be done, finally. It's taken a long time, a little bit longer than what I would have planned and hoped for, but we are almost getting through it. And luckily, I guess, my YouTube situation has been really, really good, that it doesn't really bother me. I don't really need to go get a job at the moment. Really, really good. My second channel's really on fire at the moment. If you haven't already seen it, check it out. It's in the link description down below. Wrestling Shoots, we've hit 3,000 subscribers today, which was awesome. And we've hit that in about 2 months. So that's really, really great. A lot better than what I expected. I expected to be about 1,000 subscribers right now, to be honest. So 3 times more than what I expected. The views are going great. The support has been excellent. So if you haven't already checked that out, and leave a comment saying that you came from the BrendenPlayz channel, that'd be awesome. So yeah, so look, that's all well and great. We've been doing that. I've been really working hard on that. So I've been very, very busy in terms of the YouTube side of things. A little bit so busy on doing the second channel that I've kind of neglected the main channel a bit. I haven't, so much missed that many uploads, but I feel like I've been neglecting it a little bit. But I've still been working pretty hard on it. Hoping to have bragging rights up on the weekend, and hoping to have bragging rights. Really, really good show for you guys. I think it's going to be great. I really like the champion versus champion element. I really do. I think it's going to be a really unique opportunity, and I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's the problem that I've got is that it feels like I just did a pay-per-view, and I did. I just did the King of the Ring pay-per-view a couple of weeks ago, so I haven't really kind of recovered. You get your post pay-per-view, downtime, and I haven't really had that. I've had to kind of just keep on going and going. And I suppose I did have a bit of time, like a week without a video, I suppose, after King of the Ring, but I guess I've probably needed a little bit of a break, but I've had just to keep on going, bragging rights again, because it takes some time to get a pay-per-view done. It's a bit of a tedious time, and you want to make it as good as you possibly can as well. That's also the pressure, because there's a lot of pressure, especially when you broadcast it live. You're seeing all the comments that people are saying every second. Every moment of the show, people can comment, react to it, so you know what the people are thinking. You know if they hate it, you know if they love it. So it adds that bit of extra pressure to it as well, that you have to make it as good as you possibly can. So I'm hoping bragging rights is good, and that's the plan. So I'll be making that. I've begun making that now. So hopefully it'll be all done, ready to go on Sunday. So that's the plan at this stage. And like I said, next week 3 exams to do as well. So I need to kind of start cracking down and studying on that, which I haven't really done yet. So I need to kind of get on that as well. So a little bit busy times for me, and next week will probably be a bit of a slow or a down week for me. I think it's probably good timing for the pay-per-view, to do the pay-per-view, then we can have nearly probably 3 or 4 days of downtime whilst I'm doing the exams and things like that, unless I really am keen on doing videos. I don't think I probably will be. So, yeah, we'll try and see if we can fill in time there. Maybe we'll do a couple of Here Comes the Pain episodes next week or something like that and just kind of fill in the time. But, yeah, probably don't expect too many videos next week because of the exams. But after that, I will be on at least a month break, I believe it. Yeah, I think it's a month, if not at least 3 weeks. So it should be about a month. So, yeah, we've got plenty of time, and we'll certainly get a lot of gaming in. We'll certainly get a lot of videos in. So it's going to be plenty of fun to be had. And we're going to continue on doing a few different things, such as the top 5. There was a great response on the top 5 champions of Universe Mode history. I want to do another one of those. Obviously, a little bit busy this week to get another one done, but next week, definitely going to do one. So that was really cool. Great response there. So definitely going to be doing more of that, and perhaps even trying to introduce a few other different things as well to the channel, and just keep on going as we're still, aiming, we're still striving to try and hit that 100k subscriber mark before it's all said and done. So hopefully the dream can come true. Hopefully the goal can be achieved. So that's the plan anyways. But for right now, that's really all I have to say, and we'll get into this week's wrestling discussion. And, of course, we'll kick things off with Monday Night Raw. And look, what are we now? 6 weeks from the Superstar shakeup? Something like that, maybe a little less. Yeah, I think it's about 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. But it's been a while now. And I got to say, I think I'm enjoying Raw more than I am SmackDown. It's been a long time since I've said that. Certainly since, obviously, before the draft. It's been, ever since the draft, I think I've been enjoying SmackDown a lot more. So, there you go. Now the kind of things have changed, the tide has turned, and now I think I'm enjoying Raw more. I think I like the Raw 5, I guess you could say. All 5 guys that are in this Fatal 5-Way match, and I guess you could even add Ambrose and Miz onto that as well. They've got a really good bunch of guys there on Raw. Now, are they using them all greatly? No. Bray Wyatt's not being used that well. Finn Balor's probably had a really lackluster return. Samoa Joe could probably be doing better than what he is. Seth Rollins is going okay, I think. And obviously we're missing Braun Strowman as well, so you add him in there, and wow, they've got a pretty good main event, or at least upper to main event scene there. So that's really, really good for Raw. Whereas SmackDown, you look at their Money in the Bank match, it's strong. It is. Corbin, Styles, Owens. There's some good names in there, for sure. There's Ziggler in there, who's been a little bit down, but, he's got a big win this week on SmackDown, so who knows what's going to happen there. But, look, there's definitely something there for them. There's no doubt. There's some good guys on that roster, no doubt about it. But I think right now, Raw, for me, it just has my interest. Maybe because the world title picture just isn't really interesting me. But then again, Raw doesn't even have a world title picture, really. I mean, Lesnar hasn't showed up since he won the championship. So, I mean, what's the excuse there? I don't know. But Raw did do some things this week that I really, really loved. But they did one thing that was abysmal, and I think everyone can agree that it was, horse shit. And you guys already know what I'm going to talk about. That's the Alexa Bliss segment. We'll start with the negative. We'll start with the negative, then we'll get into the positives. The positives are really good. But this week's negative was a big negative. One of the worst segments, probably of the year. Well, probably maybe the worst segment of the year in WWE right now. Could potentially end up being the worst of the year overall. You never know. WWE always produces some pretty bad ones, so I would expect something that probably will beat it at some point. But the Alexa Bliss, this is your life. To be honest, when I was watching it, I was like, well, this is not good. This is not great. The crowd are just absolutely shitting all over it, but I did give it a chance. It wasn't until I finished watching it that I went, wow, that sucked. But whilst I was watching it, I was like, okay, when's this going to pick up? I felt the whole time I was watching it, I just felt as though, okay, when's Bayley going to come out? When's Bayley coming? And she didn't come right until the end, which, I'm a little surprised. I thought they might, cut it quickly and, end it early and get Bayley out there. I mean, that would have been probably the smart decision to do if they had felt as though, okay, this is not going well, let's get out of here quickly. But instead, they probably left Alexa Bliss out there to dry. Really, really, really bad segment. And to leave Bliss all out there with knowing that the segment was bad, maybe they thought it was going okay, maybe they thought she could pick it up and get them through, but I probably would have cut the cord, honestly. You know, with the crowd, look, it's pretty evident. You look back on the video, and there's people in the front row, their heads completely facing down into their phones, and they're not even like looking up every now and then to check what's going on. They are just immersed into their phones, not giving a shit. The crowd chanting, "This is boring," and just all over it. Just, yeah, I would have cut the cord. I would have, pulled the plug on it. I would have just got... You could have easily. I mean, Bayley coming out there and doing the brawl was the finish to the segment anyways. They could have just, before it got to the really bad... I mean, the worst part of the segment for me was the cringy moment between the best friend and the old boyfriend. And all of a sudden they found each other. I thought I always liked you, but I thought you never did, blah, 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 blah. And then they kiss, and wow, that was just the icing on the cake, wasn't it? If it wasn't already bad, it got really, really bad there. Things took a real dive right there. So that was not good. I don't know who wrote this. I wish I knew so I could laugh at them. And I'm sure whoever did write this probably isn't going to get fired, but it's probably been, heavily criticized and maybe even some kind of trouble, maybe even demoted. Maybe, they're not writing the big angles for next week's show or something like that. I don't know, but I would do something because that was really, really piss poor. And obviously, they have done This Is Your Life's in the past. Obviously, the most notable one being Mick Foley and The Rock, but Alexa Bliss is not Mick Foley, and Bayley is definitely not The Rock. So, yeah, and it was a bit of a different circumstance. They weren't, The Rock wasn't happy with Mick Foley, but wasn't necessarily feuding or, they didn't want to beat the hell out of him, otherwise he would have. So a bit of a different circumstance, and it just wasn't good. It just didn't come across well. It sucked. That's all there is to say. I mean, I don't want to harp on about it too much because Alexa Bliss gave it her best. She tried her best. It just didn't work, and it was probably doomed to fail from the get-go. This Bayley storyline has not been good. Bayley, to me, is just the shits. I think she's on my shit list. I cannot stand her. I don't see the hype. I don't see the appeal in her. I never really have. I looked at her in NXT and thought, wow, okay, she's really popular. I'm not sure why. I mean, for me, they're acting like she's just this buffoon. She's just this dork, this nerd. And another thing is, they were making fun of the fact that Bayley was staying home to watch WWE instead of going out with her friends. So, how's that going to make your product sound good? Making fun of the fact that Bayley's staying at home, watching WWE instead of going out with her friend. Well, what is everyone doing right now? They're staying home and watching WWE. Does that mean we're all nerds? That we all suck? That we're all geeks for watching this? That we're all like Bayley? Maybe. I mean, probably. I mean, that's probably how they see most wrestling fans. But that's just putting your own product down, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, that's stupidity. Honestly, absolute stupidity. It's bad enough that, you put Bayley down, but then you put your own product down. And you put on this terrible segment. Then you make everyone who's watching it, you laugh at them. You make them sound like they're idiots for watching the show to begin with. So, what, do they want me to switch off and instead go out with a friend? Because, I wanted to watch Raw, but apparently we're losers if we do. So, thanks, WWE. That's reaffirming to know. I already knew that, but it's nice to hear it from the horse's mouth, I guess. Not really, but that was sarcasm, by the way, for those of you who couldn't pick it up. But yeah, look, it sucks. It sucked. It really did. But we'll move on to some things I did like. And what I did like was Kurt Angle's scandal. I like mystery. I like intrigue. I like knowing, where is this going to go? What are they doing with this? What's next? Who could be behind this? What's the scandal? What's the issue? What has he done? I like having these questions. I like having this intrigue. I like having this mystery. It's something that's really been missing from WWE for a long, long time, because the storylines that they do are so basic, I guess, to appeal to casuals and to appeal to the younger audience, maybe. I'm not sure. But none of their storylines really have any depth or play out over a long period of time. So I hope this is the start of something that will. I hope that we see Kurt Angle, worried about this thing leaking out, or, trying to figure out what's going on, who's trying to expose him, what's happening. I hope they spend the next month or two trying to figure that out, if not longer, 3 months. Who's going to be at the end of it? I think it's going to be Stephanie McMahon. I think that's the only logical choice, I suppose, because we all know Stephanie's due to come back at some time. We all know she can't stay off TV for longer than... Well, I'm surprised she's been off TV for this long, to be honest. I'm really surprised, really shocked, honestly. So I'm sure she's itching at the bit to get back on there and make Raw... inject her virus back in the Raw like she used to. I mean, God, before she was... when she was on TV, she was the worst part of the show every single week. She was a cancer to Raw. She was a virus, and she infected the whole show every single week. It was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And look, Kurt Angle hasn't really had much of an opportunity. This is probably his first big storyline, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But, Stephanie back, what is she going to come back and just, belittle Kurt Angle like she did Mick Foley? Does anyone really want to see that? Does anyone want to see Kurt Angle, being talked down to by Stephanie McMahon? No one wants to see that. We all love Kurt Angle. We want to see him, making good matches and, involved in some, good backstage segments. We don't want to see him getting, embarrassed on TV every week by Stephanie. Especially because they're not going to let Kurt Angle say anything back to her. Because that never happens. No one ever steps up to Stephanie. Nobody ever stands up to her. Nobody ever does anything about it. And why would Kurt Angle? Why would they let Kurt Angle do it? So, if anything, Kurt Angle will probably just get the same Mick Foley treatment. So, if anything, I really hope it's not Stephanie, because she's just a virus. She just plagues and infects the show, and I really don't want to see her back. But who else could be behind it? I don't know. Who has an issue with Kurt Angle right now? I'm not sure. Look, if they had planted the seeds over the last few... Well, that's the thing. They haven't had enough time for Kurt Angle to really get in a situation with anyone. You think about it with Braun Strowman and Mick Foley. They could have done something there where Braun Strowman was trying to do something to, take down Mick Foley because he wasn't giving him the opportunities that he wanted. But we haven't really had the time for that to really happen with Kurt Angle and anyone else yet. At least not enough time where it would make sense or be a good idea. So, 1 week's a bad decision, isn't really worth warranting, ruining someone's career maybe. So it would have to probably spend over the last few weeks of some things and building up to eventually where the superstar, whoever's behind it, looks to try and take him down. So that's what I really like. I like the mystery. I like the intrigue. We may have a suggestion on it's going to be Stephanie at the end of the row, but... let's enjoy the ride. Let's enjoy where it goes next. And the other thing as well was something that also has a bit of mystery behind it is the Enzo and Cass situation. Who's been attacking Enzo? Now, here's the three options that I've got. Obviously, the Revival. Even though they basically said, oh, okay, it wasn't the Revival. But they could still do that. They could still swerve it. They could say, oh, okay, someone else attacked Enzo instead that week. Maybe multiple people have an issue with Enzo. The other one, of course, is a Big Cass heel turn. Big Cass is the one behind Enzo's attacks, but then obviously, if Enzo gets attacked next week, then they may, steer away from that, because Big Cass said he's never leaving Enzo's side anymore, so that would imply that no one's going to get anywhere near Enzo to attack him. It also could imply that Big Cass is the one doing the attacks, because he's, every time, Enzo's down, where's Big Cass? And now that Big Cass is there, well, obviously no one's attacking him anymore. It could be because Big Cass is the one doing it. So, look, do I want to see Enzo and Cass broken up? No, I don't. I really don't. Why break up a team that's working? Yes, they haven't had the belts. Yes, they've kind of fallen down a little bit as of late. But Big Cass on his own, I think, would really struggle. And Enzo on his own offers nothing. Enzo is not a great worker. He's too small. He's a good promo. He's definitely cut out to be a manager. And if not, at least a tag team guy. I think he's in the right position right now. They're using him the right way. I just can't imagine him on a solo. Him by himself, I just feel like will not work. It's hard to believe. It would be hard to really get behind him. Yes, obviously, in a feud between Big Cass and Enzo, I think Enzo would get the cheer and Big Cass would be hated. But what's next after that? What do you do with him after that? I'm not sure. Big Cass, on his own, he's obviously got the size. In-ring work is still getting there. Promo is still getting there. So him on his own could struggle without that mouthpiece and without that someone else to fall back on. And plus, who's gonna slide down the card for him? I mean, we just mentioned, a moment ago of how good the main event scene is on Raw with all those names that they've got there. Well, do they put Big Cass above some of those names and put him straight in there, or do they slowly build him up and, maybe have him go for a mid-card championship? I'm not sure. I feel like if they're going to make him a singles, that they would push him pretty hard and right to the top. I think they see him as a main event guy, potentially, because of his looks. So I'm sure they would probably be very, very reluctant to have him just work the mid-card for a while. And saying as well, they just had Golden Truth break up as well. And if they broke up Enzo and Cass, well, geez, all of a sudden you're 2 tag teams down on Raw, and that's not a good thing. Especially in a time where don't have a lot of tag teams, at least not good tag teams. So it definitely is a bit of a risk to do that. And the other option, of course, the third option in this scenario is Enzo's attacking himself or, faking it or, laying down or whatever. It's Enzo doing it. And he's doing it to make Cass look bad. He's doing it to get back at Big Cass or, eventually, he's going to turn on Big Cass. But to do that, you'd have to find someone who's as big as Big Cass. You'd have to have Enzo align himself with another monster. And do they have any monsters coming through? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be 6'9" like Big Cass, but, someone big, tall, and someone who can match up well to Big Cass would be the ideal opponent. So it wouldn't make sense if, they put a guy who's 5'11" with Enzo and said, okay, this is my new man now. This is my new guy, and you're going to get beaten by him, Big Cass. I mean, just wouldn't believe it. So that's a bit of an odd one. I mean, the obvious choice is Big Cass, but you never know. It could be someone completely different. They may debut someone else new who's been doing the attacks backstage. Maybe it's the Revival. Maybe it's the Club. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? So that's what I like. More mystery, more intrigue, and more reasons to tune in the next week to wonder what the hell is going to happen. What's going to happen next? Who did it? We're going to find out in the next few weeks, which gives you a reason to come back. That intrigue makes you want to know, makes you want to tune in to find out. And how often have we tuned into the next week's Raw without anything that's going to possibly happen in mind, without any interest on anything that's going to happen in the show, not even knowing what's the main event's going to be? That's every second week. Not even caring about the story. It's so often. So it's good to know that we've got something that we can watch next week. Okay, when we tune in, we can say, okay, look, what happened to Kurt Angle? What happened to Enzo? What's happening there? 2 things that we can straight away say, okay, what's happening here? I can't wait to find out. Another little bit of a pairing this week, Sasha Banks and Rich Swann. We talked about a few weeks ago how Sasha Banks perhaps being demoted after losing to Alicia Fox. Sasha's obviously hit back in the end and I guess won that rivalry a little bit, but they're still dragging it out. Now involving Sasha in the 205 Live situation. I think this is a way to mix more of the superstars and women into 205 Live to help that show. I'm not saying Sasha Banks is going to be, drawing big numbers, but, mixing them in a little bit. Obviously, they're very reluctant to mix in the cruiserweights with any regular wrestlers, I guess. So women, they feel as though that's okay. They've done it with Alicia, so now Sasha Banks is fine. And a mixed tag match at Extreme Rules to follow it up. So, look, I'm not against it. I mean, obviously they were doing the dancing and everything like that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So, look, I'm not against it, like I said. Sasha, here's the thing with the Raw Women's Division. And look, it's pretty prominent and pretty evident with Mickie James, Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, and now Sasha. When they have a very lack of ability to book anything outside of the Women's Championship match. They've done Alicia and Sasha, but has it really been a rivalry? No, it's just been a series of matches. And now they're trying to turn it into more of a rivalry. Now that they've gone, okay, maybe we could do something here. Before, when it was really just, okay, let's just have some matches between Sasha and Alicia just to use them. Now they're turning into a rivalry. But look at Nia Jax. 1 week she was meant to be with Alexa Bliss getting a title match at some point. And the next she's not even on TV. Hasn't been for a while now. So they're still very reluctant to be able to book. They still lack the ability to book the women's division anything more than just the championship match. And it's been pretty evident for the last year, ever since the brand split. Elias Samson again had another match. This time it was a squash match. And I got to say, man, I've been reading a lot of hatred, a lot of comments about Elias Samson. People saying, oh, the gimmick's terrible. He's not over. He's not getting a reaction. The singing sucks. He's not good in the ring. I wanted to say to all those people who have been criticizing this guy, I want to say shame on you. This guy is big. This guy has got a great look about him. He's got a great physique. And look, it's been 2 weeks. 2 freaking weeks. And here's the thing. When someone makes a debut throughout wrestling history, do you expect them to get a reaction that blows the roof off the building? The only time that happens, it happens nowadays because people watch NXT. People watch them NXT and NXT takeovers, and we see enough of them to the point where they get on the main roster. We know who they are, and we know if we love them or hate them. Elias Samson, I really have not seen much of him at all in NXT. I need a little couple of clips here and there, maybe probably 1 or 2 matches. I didn't realize how big the guy was and how aggressive he was in the ring. And look, the only other time I saw him was when I saw him at a house show, and he was one of the most hated guys of the night. Yes, it's I guess you could say it's bad heat, it's go away heat, but heat is heat, and it's the type of heat where you're booing him because you want him to stop playing, you suck, please get off. But that's the thing, that's the point. It's so annoying that you want him to stop, and that's the whole point of the gimmick. So yes, he does get a reaction. He maybe not as strong this week because he's versing a job guy, of course, and that's going to happen. I mean, look, Ryback spent nearly a whole 6 months beating job guys. Nia Jax spent forever beating job girls. It happens. Braun Strowman spent forever. I mean, look, James Ellsworth made a career out of it, beating up job guys. So there you go. So it happens all the time in wrestling. And just because they don't get a huge reaction on their first night doesn't mean they're not going to be successful. Doesn't mean that they should go back down to NXT. Doesn't mean they should be released. These are the type of comments I've been reading. It's been ridiculous. Ridiculous. I think Elias Samson, he's a guy that I saw absolutely nothing in until I saw him at a house show. And thought, okay, this gimmick could be something. Not sure how far it will go on the main roster. It's probably a mid-card gimmick. Sure, that's fine. But it could do something. And he was great last week. And this week we got to see a little bit more, showcased him a little bit more on the ring. So, in my opinion, give the Drifter a chance. Give Elias Samson a chance because he's someone that I really saw nothing in, but now I really believe could be a solid mid-card guy, if not even further up the card one day. I think he'd probably will have to change his gimmick if he's going to be a main event guy. And I'm not sure about his promos, but at least, look, I think he's fine in the ring. I think he is. I really honestly do. Not everyone has to be AJ Styles. He gets the job done. He looks believable. He's got a great look about him, great size. And that's something that we obviously are lacking nowadays. So he kind of sets himself apart a little bit. And look, if they're pushing Jinder Mahal, I mean, I think Elias Samson's got just as much, if not more potential than a guy like Jinder. So let's give Elias Samson a chance. He doesn't have to be world champion next week, but let's not shit on the guy. Let's not bury him out of the company before he even begins, because that's ridiculous. Ty Dillinger, when he came up, had all this fan support, all this crowd support. They're doing nothing with him. That's a travesty. But it goes to show, even though you get a reaction, doesn't mean WWE are going to do anything with you. If they don't get it or they don't see the vision, it doesn't really matter. And obviously they see something in Elias Samson, so he's going to get an opportunity. He's going to get somewhat of a push. It may not be a major one, but he's going to get a chance. And let's see how he goes. Let's evaluate in a couple months' time. So, okay, this isn't working. This is working. I'm not liking this about him. That's fair enough. But after, 2 weeks of seeing him on the main roster, you're going to say, wow, this guy needs to go. In my opinion, that's just ridiculous. And you might be saying, oh, Brendan, you're a bit of a hypocrite. you were criticizing Jinder Mahal, even though he's only been a main event guy for 6 weeks. But I've seen Jinder Mahal for the last couple of years in the main roster and haven't been impressed. And, I've been listening his promos for the last month or so, haven't been really impressed. But I said, look, he's learning. That's the thing. At the same time, I said he's learning. He's only going to get better. More time, more exposure, he will get better. And the same thing for Elias Samson. So whilst he may not be great now, Jinder could be great one day. And again, the problem that I had with Jinder was mainly his booking. Going from job guy to main event guy in the space of a week was ridiculous. But, Elias Samson isn't that. He's starting out, he's brand new, he's fresh, he's a fresh face, and that's something that we need more of. More fresh faces is good. And I think Elias could be something. So I just want people to kind of be a little bit open-minded about it, because I really believe he could be something. I think I like it. I really do. I really like it. Final piece of news on Raw, more bad ratings. Things are going down again, slightly, very, very, very slightly, but the ratings continue to drop, despite there not being NBA, I believe. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure there was no NBA. So that's concerning. I think hockey was on, but, not many people really watch hockey, let's be honest, in comparison to NBA. So, yeah, that's worrying for Raw. So, more bad ratings. Smackdown did a little bit better last week, of course, with Jinder Mahal as the champ. Gave him a bit of a boost. Was it all Jinder? Maybe it was. Maybe it was, generally, when you finish a pay-per-view, you should get a bump in the ratings the next episode. You should, if it's a good pay-per-view. If it's a bad pay-per-view, then, probably people will tune out even more. So, we're going to run through the Extreme Rules pay-per-view now whilst we're on the topic of Monday Night Raw. So let's get straight into it, shall we? First up, Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox mixed tag team match. I think Sasha and Rich Swann will win, without a doubt. Noam Dar, very low on the totem pole. Rich Swann is above him. Alicia Fox, probably the lowest of the low on the women's totem pole. So Sasha and Rich Swann losing there would probably be a bad call. And I think people would be more happier to see Sasha and Swann win. Neville and Austin Aries have yet again another match for the Cruiserweight Championship. This time it's a submission match. I like submission matches. It's been a while since I've seen one. At least I can remember one. So that's good. And Cruiserweight matches with a submission match element to it makes sense. Because in my opinion, Cruiserweights is all about having, incredible, athletic, great matches. And submission match should tie into that pretty well. So I like it. And I would like to see Austin Aries finally win it. Neville's been a great champ, yes, but I think a bit of a... The thing I have is that if Neville wins, then Austin Aries can't really justify giving him another title match. Considering at the same time, he has to tap out. He has to tap out to lose. I mean, maybe DQ or something could happen, but I don't think they're going to do that. So Austin Aries has to tap. So if he taps out, tapping out is basically the end all. You tap out in a rivalry, that's it. Or it should be it. You've lost fair and square. No buts about it. Move on to the next guy. Who does Neville move on to? Jack Gallagher? Maybe Tozawa? He obviously had a great match with Kendrick. I'm hearing Brian Kendrick in the street fight. Maybe they do that, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that'd be good. Some good matches. So maybe that's an idea. If Aries wins, obviously they can probably squeeze another Neville and Aries match out if they want to. Also have Aries and TJP. But again, that's the thing. They've got a few guys in this Cruiserweight division that are going well, but then the rest are kind of suffering. And obviously you can do Aries and Brian Kendrick for the belt as well. So I think Aries deserves a run with the championship. I think he could really do some great work with it and just kind of keep putting it over. But the thing is, how many more Neville and Austin Aries matches can we see before the crowd really gets sick of it? Maybe this might be the last one. We've got pretty short attention spans these days. So when we see the same match every single week, because we see Aries and Neville against each other in tag matches all the time as well, it doesn't really help. So, yeah. In my opinion, I would scrap both of them and I would say bring in Grand Metalik. He's the man. But unfortunately, that's they don't agree on that. Hardy Boys versus Cesaro and Sheamus, very similar to the Neville and Austin Aries situation. The fact that the Hardys and Cesaro and Sheamus have already had a few matches against each other now. Steel cage match, bit of an odd stipulation maybe, but, you know, I like steel cages, sure. They're not as exciting in 2017, to be honest, but, you know, they don't really use the cage much. So, and tag team steel cage matches, I find intriguing as well, so I like that. I hope they don't make them tag in and out. I think that's always ridiculous when they make them do that. I think a tornado tag match in a steel cage is the way to go. So sometimes they make them tag in and out, which I think is ridiculous. But you'd have to say that Cesaro and Sheamus are going to win this one, surely. Surely! You turn the guys heel and then they just keep getting beat all the time by the Hardys. Surely you give them a big win at the pay-per-view. You'd think so. I hope so. Because every time they face the Hardy Boys, they lose, whether it be singles or tag action. Every time they face them, they lose. So surely they're due for a win. And a loss, I think, would be good for the Hardy Boys. I think they've just been beating everyone. And the nostalgia's wearing off. They haven't really done much else. Their promos haven't really done many. I think we're all kind of still waiting for the broken gimmick, but are we even going to get that? Who knows? So we're waiting for something different for the Hardys, and maybe a loss might not be the worst thing for them. Alexa Bliss versus Bayley in a piss break on a pole match. Kendo stick on a pole match, to be honest. Who gives a shit? I mean, honestly, could not care less about Bayley. All I hope is that Alexa Bliss wins. A kendo stick on a pole match is a ridiculous stipulation because we see kendo sticks used. You know, people hit each other 10 times with the kendo sticks, and they keep going. They don't even barely sell it. On a pole matches are always a bit of a bad idea. And every time Bayley gets hit with a kendo stick, sounds like she's going to die. And then I'm sure in this match, Alexa Bliss will probably hit her 5 times with a kendo stick. Bayley will get it back. She'll hit Alexa Bliss a few times with the kendo stick. They'll probably barely sell it. They'll stay on their feet. They won't really be hurt. And, you know, it'll be ridiculous. So the whole build-up would just be a waste of time. So, and that's the thing. It's whoever gets the kendo stick first gets to use it. Well, Alexa Bliss is going to get it off the top of she's going to grab the kendo stick. She'll use it on Bayley, and then Bayley might grab it off her, and then she gets to use it. So the whole concept is just ridiculous. It's not as though Bayley's banned from getting the kendo stick if Alexa Bliss gets it first. So it's just ludicrous. It's a bad idea. It's a Vince Russo idea, so that's never really good to begin with. But I hope Alexa Bliss wins. Dean Ambrose versus The Miz. If Ambrose is DQ'd, he's going to lose the belt. I think Ambrose will still be champ. I think The Miz will get himself DQ'd. Unfortunately, he'll try and one up the referee, but in the end, he'll make a mistake. I think Maurice will get banned from ringside somehow very early on, and Ambrose will keep the belt. Fatal 5-way match, Extreme Rules, number 1 contender match for the Universal Championship. Finally, we may see Brock Lesnar soon, right after this pay-per-view maybe. Honestly, be about damn time. Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe. Fatal 5-way. Who takes it? Well, this is obviously the most intriguing match of the night. It's hard to really predict. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Would love to see it, but I think they're going to save it. I don't think you would waste it on the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. I don't think that pay-per-view should even take place, let alone waste a big main event like that. Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. I could see it. I think that'd be okay. And obviously there's a bit of history there with Seth Rollins cashing in and taking the belt from Lesnar a couple of years ago, so they could play on that. I doubt they will, but that's an idea. Lesnar could seek a bit of revenge. And also, you could do Rollins and Lesnar, and you probably feel as though it's not a waste of a big pay-per-view match. I don't think Rollins and Lesnar is really a marquee SummerSlam or WrestleMania match. It's definitely, it's not a C pay-per-view match, but it's definitely, a B pay-per-view match for sure. Balor and Lesnar, this seems like the one they are building to. It seems like they've spent the most time on kind of building Finn Balor, also having the Paul Heyman interaction. That would, to me, suggest that's where they're headed. I could be very wrong. To be honest, though, they've treated Finn Balor pretty poorly. They've talked about how small Finn Balor is, how he could not possibly match up with Brock Lesnar. So they haven't really done any favours to Finn Balor, really putting him over as a legitimate opponent. So I think, if anything, that's probably a bad idea at this point. Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar. I think Bray Wyatt has the least chance of winning. He's just boring. Heel versus heel. Well, Lesnar's more of a tweener. He's whatever you want him to be. If you like him, great. If you don't, great. So it is what it is. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have Bray and Lesnar. A match I would like to see, though, Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. I think that would be a great matchup. I think that's a match that I think people will be pretty open to. So they'd have to make Lesnar the babyface in it, which might be hard to kind of do, obviously being the much bigger man. So, yeah, I mean, I think for me the signs are either Seth Rollins or Finn Balor at this point. And Samoa Joe and Lesnar would be great, but they might say that for down the line. I think it would be a great match if Lesnar tries. I'm sure Samoa Joe would give it his all. I think Samoa Joe would really look forward to having that match. But I think at this point, I'm going to have to go with either Rollins or Balor. And I think it's the obvious pick, but just based off the build-up alone, I think Finn Balor is more of the safe pick out of the two. So I think it'll be one of the two, but I'm going to go with Finn Balor. And look, Finn Balor and Brock Lesnar might be a good match. It's just a size mismatch. That's all it is. But we've had plenty of size mismatches over the years and hasn't really affected the match. I mean, so I don't really care. I don't really care about the size mismatch. I think Finn Balor will be a good opponent for him, and I'd like to see it. And the storyline makes more sense because Finn Balor never got his rematch for the belt. I think it'd be more a better justification. I think Finn Balor deserves to get another rematch in storyline wise. So I would rather see that as well. So that's the Extreme Rules. That's my predictions of that show. We're going to move on to Smackdown quickly. We've got the Women's Money in the Bank match confirmed. I like it. I really like the brawl that they had on SmackDown this week. The only issue I have with the Women's Money in the Bank match is that a lot of these women haven't really worked gimmick matches like this. Hardcore, extreme matches. And a ladder match is a pretty brutal match, especially Money in the Bank. It's one of the hardest matches of the year to work, without a doubt. And being the first women's in the Money in the Bank match, they really have to go to the next level. I'm expecting Charlotte to do a moonsault at the top of the ladder, probably landing to the outside, landing on the whole group of women. For example, I think we're expecting some big spots, some big moments. This match has to deliver, otherwise they may never do it again. They may never do it again. So, who's going to win it? It's hard to say. I mean, I would like to see maybe Becky Lynch win it, get her another big win, and she can cash in down the line. But in saying that, maybe Carmella's not a bad option. I think she's been slowly on the rise, and having James Ellsworth there has been a good decision in my opinion. Because Becky Lynch has already been a champion, Charlotte's already been a champion, Natalya they see as though she's like the Chris Jericho of the women's division. She's just there to kind of put the women over. Tamina has absolutely zero credibility or any momentum whatsoever, so nobody would like to see her at all. And Money in the Bank is a bit more of a heelish thing, and I think Carmella could certainly play up on it a little bit more. Natalya would obviously do a great job as well as the Money in the Bank holder. But I feel like Charlotte doesn't need Money in the Bank. She can just walk in and get a title shot whenever she feels like it. Becky Lynch is kind of the same. Whereas Carmella, having her as the number one contender is a little bit harder to believe. So having her as the Money in the Bank, she could cash in at any time, any place, I think would suit her and help her a little bit more. And Natalya is the same. I think you could probably have her in a title match and justify it. So to me, when I look at Money in the Bank, I look at a winner who may not get a organic championship matchup. They may need the Money in the Bank. They need that cash-in opportunity to get them a world title, to get them a title shot. And that's why I think I'm going with Carmella. I think, obviously, you could have Charlotte win, but look, Charlotte, does she need to carry the Money in the Bank briefcase? She can get a title shot whenever. So that's the thing. I think just, for me, I like the winners of Money in the Bank to be someone who may struggle or can't get a win at the moment, or can't get a title shot at the moment, I should say, because of their current status. They win Money in the Bank, they've got that title shot up their sleeve, then you build up to that title match. Now, the problem with WWE is when you win Money in the Bank, you lose and you lose and you lose. You go on a losing streak for the next 6 months until you cash in. That's WWE's booking. I have no idea why they do that. So, wouldn't surprise me if Carmella just keeps on losing. But, yeah, so I'm gonna go with Carmella, someone different. I have no idea who's the favorite. I have no idea what anyone else is saying, but we might find out. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna say an early prediction now, but we might change that in the next few weeks. Jinder Mahal not doing a lot again, just a bit of a promo and a vignette. I don't know, having him come out to the crowd and cut promos is better for him, but he keeps cutting the same promo every week. It's hard not to be bored by this guy because he keeps saying the same thing every week. Give him some new material. Let's have him have a match. Whether he beats up a no-name guy or a Mojo Rawley. I wouldn't mind seeing him beat up Mojo. After getting bitched out by him at WrestleMania, would love to see Jinder Mahal say, okay, I'm the WWE champion now, Mojo. I want my revenge for what you did to me at WrestleMania, and have a match. Makes sense. A little bit there. A reason to do it. Why not? Jinder can beat him convincingly, get the revenge back, and look like $1 million again. Go from there. I think that'd be a good call. So just things like that. Having more matches, because Jinder, in my opinion, needs more and more wins. The more wins that Jinder gets, the more we're going to start buying him as a champion. I thought Randy Orton's promo was a little bit more animated from him than usual. It was a bit different, going the whole granddaddy thing. My grandpa or granddad wouldn't be happy with me losing to Jinder and things like that. So a little bit different, a little bit odd from Randy, but I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it. New Day returned, and they get a title shot straight away just because they're the New Day. I don't like that. I always like having to earn a title shot. I would have liked to see the New Day just get a couple wins and then say, okay, you've earned your title shot, you'll get one. Instead, they return and say, we want the belts, and they get a title match. So, kind of devalues the point, other tag teams and the point of the number one contendership, because it's like the New Day are so good that they don't even need to prove themselves against the other teams. Devalues Breezango, who've been doing pretty well, and they lose a match, and all of a sudden New Day's more worthy of a title match, even though they've beaten all the other teams in the division as of late. So there you go. And speaking of Breezango, I'm glad that they haven't given up on their push yet. They're still doing a little bit with them. They're still having them have matches and winning. Still doing the backstage, fashion files or whatever it's called. I forget at the moment. So I'm still happy they're doing that. The gimmicky matches they're having, Tyler Breeze changing outfits halfway through the match. I'm not against it. I'm not. It's something different. It stands them apart from the rest. It's silly. It's goofy, but I'm okay with it. I am. And it's fun at the end of the day. That's what wrestling's meant to be. Dolph Ziggler defeated AJ Styles. A bit of a surprise. I did not expect that. But look, Ziggler should be one of the more credible guys in this match, considering he's actually won Money in the Bank before. They keep on harping about it. So if Ziggler was to lose, and would make him look pretty weak heading in. So him winning, whilst it doesn't do AJ Styles any favours, I think it's a good call. But like I said, Money in the Bank winners, the people who go into Money in the Bank, generally lose all the time before Money in the Bank, and then when they win, they lose all the time as well. So wouldn't shock me if AJ Styles wins Money in the Bank. If he loses a couple more matches, would not surprise me. And I think Baron Corbin is my pick at the moment. But I could see AJ Styles getting it as well. Not that he really needs it, though. He's one of those guys who could just walk in and get a title shot, as we talked about earlier. Final piece, Rusev. Where is he? Where's Lana? Where's Rusev? Nobody knows. Rusev was meant to come back, but instead they gave the spot to Jinder Mahal instead. And now they don't know what to do with him. It sucks. It really does. I think Rusev would have been far better to put in that position rather than Jinder Mahal, because Rusev's worked as a top guy, whether it be US champ, working high-profile matches, working title matches for a couple of years now, 3 years or so now, whereas Jinder has never done that, really. So Rusev would have been more ready for that opportunity rather than Jinder Mahal, but they went with Jinder instead. But that's SmackDown. That's all we really have to say about SmackDown. We're about to get into your questions before we end this week's show. Want to touch on the new trailer for Far Cry 5 a quick moment. I'm currently trying to finish Far Cry 4. I like Far Cry. I have platinum Far Cry 1, Far Cry 3, and Far Cry Primal, and I'm going to get the Platinum on Far Cry 4. Too many Far Cries. I'm going to get the Platinum on that probably in the next couple of weeks. So every Far Cry except for Far Cry 2 I've enjoyed. I really did not like Far Cry 2. Hated it. Too much of an online emphasis as well, especially on the trophies. So that was disappointing that I couldn't get them because I love getting my trophies. Very, very hard game to Platinum. But anyways, Far Cry 5 looks amazing. I didn't like Far Cry 4 that much, which is why I never really finished it, because it just felt exactly like Far Cry 3. It wasn't much of a change, and I prefer the storyline of Far Cry 3. I was a lot more into it. And when I got to Far Cry 4, it felt as though I've already played the game. It felt as though I've already done everything. It felt as though I was just redoing the same things. It didn't feel exciting, and it still really doesn't now. I don't mind it. I'm not hating it, but it's not really exciting me that much. But I hope Far Cry 5 is a little different. It's been a couple years now, so I expect something different. Saying that, I just hope they don't really start to smash out Far Cries. Yes, the series is getting popular, but we don't need to start seeing one every year, a bit like Assassin's Creed. That's the thing about Ubisoft. They just kind of keep smashing out titles every year. When they've got a popular series, they make a new one every year. And it ran the Assassin's Creed franchise right into the ground. And I hope they don't try and do that with Far Cry 5. I hope Far Cry 5 turns out to be a success. It looks great. It really, really, really looks great. And the storyline looks like it has a lot of potential. I really, really enjoyed the trailer. So if you haven't already, check that out. And hopefully it's a good game. I think Tekken 7 is coming out. Or if not, it's just about out. I think last week we talked about it briefly. I don't think I'm going to get it. Maybe a price drop, I might think about it, unless a friend picks it up for me, but I don't think I'm going to get this one. Maybe, we'll see. We'll see. But at this stage, I won't be buying it. And I don't think there's any other games I'm looking forward to this month. I think, is Crash Bandicoot out this month? If it is, I'm definitely getting that. But other than that, I don't think there's much else. But we still have some questions to get into before we wrap this week's show up, so let's get straight into them.
Hey BrendenPlayz, it's me, Aiden, _Wrestling again. I just had one more question to you. How do you make a website like this? Like, what website is this or something? Because I want to be able to make one, because my websites don't turn out well, so that's my question to you. Alright, see you later, Brendan.
Well, to make a website, I had no experience in making a website before, so I just kind of, Googled and did my own little research and tried to figure it out as I went. Basically, what you do is you're gonna have to buy a domain. It depends, you can make a free website and not have a domain name. For example, you won't have BrendenPlayz.com. You might have BrendenPlayz.website.com, for example, something like that. So if you're okay with that, you don't need a domain name. But what I used was WordPress. My website's pretty simple. I use WordPress. It's a little complicated to learn from the start, from the get-go. It might take you about a week to kind of get your head around it. But after a while, it gets pretty easy. It's pretty simple. And I don't really have to do all that much on my website now. All I really do is post new content to it. I don't have to really update it or anything like that. So once you've kind of set it up initially, it's pretty easy to maintain and run. But really, you can go around and take a look at some free website builders to kind of get some experience. Obviously, you said in your question that you've tried your own website, you're not really liking it. So, if you want to look to go to the next level, I think WordPress is a good start. And you can get yourself a good theme that you like on there to kind of base your website around that and kind of go from there. So that's probably where I would recommend. And for me personally, I haven't really looked to kind of go any further than that because I don't really know what the next step personally would be. So I'm kind of keeping it simple myself. So WordPress, learn how to do that and go from there. Especially if you're a beginner like me, it's pretty easy to kind of do. Alrighty, next question is coming in from Cameron Fox. When do you think Stephanie McMahon will be coming back to TV? Could be any week now, quite honestly. He's got a few more questions this week. He also says, how long do you think the Hardy Boys will stick around? I'm not sure how long the contract was, but I would assume it would be at least a year. Do you think John Cena will get married at SummerSlam and Nikki? No, too soon. I think Cena will get married for Total Bellas, but I don't think he'll get married on a pay-per-view or anything like that. I mean, that would be silly. People would hate that. And he also says, do you think we'll get broken Matt Hardy? Look, it's possible. It's possible, but at this point, it's looking less and less likely, to be honest. It really is. If they had the chance to do it, they would have done it by now, I think. But if the rumors are true, they don't even want it, so who knows? This one's from Amir Khan. What do you think Ty Dillinger's ceiling is? I don't think he's world champion, but I do think he definitely could be Intercontinental champion, US champion, something like that. Have a good singles reign. He's got a catchphrase. He's got the perfect 10. People like it. People cheer it. So right from the get-go, he's got a foundation to build off. So his promos are not bad. His ring work's not bad at all. So I think he's definitely could be something. But WWE just aren't really doing anything with him. So it's hard to really say how he's really going on the main roster yet because he hasn't really had much of an opportunity. This one's from O'Shea Bryant. Do you think they're keeping the championship on Brock Lesnar until WrestleMania? God, I hope not. I mean, wouldn't that be terrible? Terrible, terrible. I personally would love to see Braun Strowman beat Brock Lesnar for the belt at SummerSlam. But then, it makes you wonder what the hell was the point of giving the belt to Lesnar in the first place. So, to justify Lesnar having it, you probably would have to say he's going to have a long-term reign. Maybe Royal Rumble, maybe Survivor Series. At least for a while, you'd have to think so, right? Thomas Speller, I know you've been going back and watching 2005 WWE. What's your thoughts on WrestleMania 21? WrestleMania 21 was a really good show. Obviously, Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle was the big match on it. It was amazing. One of the best matches of that year, no doubt about it. One of the best matches I've personally seen, on a WrestleMania. Wrestling matches for me are difficult because I really struggle to remember them. But when I can remember it, that's a big bonus. And that was definitely one that you have to go out of your way to check out and watch. It was really, really good. Really, 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 really loved it. WrestleMania 21 was a good pay-per-view because it was a bit of a changing of the guard. Batista became a made man, beating Triple H. John Cena became a made man, beating JBL. So that was very, very positive. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero was a good match as well. So, and obviously the debut of the Money in the Bank ladder match as well. So, I think WrestleMania 21 was a very strong pay-per-view. Very, very strong. Lots of great matches, top to bottom. A really, really enjoyable show. So, if you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out. It's definitely one of the better pay-per-views of 2005 so far. The only one that's really rivaled it for me so far would probably be Judgment Day. So, two really good pay-per-views right there. Alrighty, next question is coming in from Bad Attitude Bullet. His question is, if Roman Reigns does lose at Extreme Rules, who does he go on to feud with heading into Great Balls of Fire? Because I can't see anyone feuding with him. Well, look, it's tough. I mean, the only one that I could see would be Braun Strowman, because Strowman could be back for that pay-per-view. So, do they want to pick that rivalry up again? Maybe. But other than that, I don't know. Maybe they throw him in a tag match. Rollins and Reigns team up to take on Joe and Bray Wyatt, maybe. Look, I don't know, man. I don't know. You could go any direction. They'd have to start a new rivalry, and they would probably begin to build towards SummerSlam if that was the case. So it's hard to really say, man. Look, but if Braun Strowman is back, that's a definitely possibility. But if not, I mean, we've seen Reigns and Bray. Reigns and Joe, definitely, but I don't know if they will pull the trigger on that because I feel like they've got something big planned for Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. And we're getting to that point, especially at Great Balls of Fire, where there's not a lot of time between that pay-per-view and SummerSlam. So they might do something that will be setting up towards a SummerSlam match, maybe. Hard to really say. It could be another multi-man match, you never know. This one is from Xavier King. Out of the two guys in DIY, who do you think will go further, Ciampa or Gargano? I think Johnny Gargano. I think he'll have a better career. I think him as a babyface could really work. I'm still not sold on Ciampa yet. I think I did watch his heel promo on NXT and it wasn't bad at all. So, both guys are a bit undersized, but who isn't these days in WWE? So I guess that's not really too much of a factor, but Both are really good. Both are good. I mean, I just feel like at the moment, I feel like Gargano's always been the biggest star between the two, because it's just because I've heard more about him in comparison. But maybe, you never know, maybe Ciampa will overtake that spot. So I think both could go far, but I don't see any further than perhaps mid-card guys. Do you think the Revival will ever split? Unfortunately, everyone splits these days. Every team splits at some point, so it's very possible. If you were to work for WWE as a non-wrestler, what would you want to work as? A commentator, interviewer, etc.? He says, obviously, first of all, commentary would be great. I think I could be okay at that. I think, obviously, doing a lot of wrestling commentary on the video game stuff, that would probably be my most sensible role to do. But I would also love to do a management or business role, because obviously my dream career is to work in business in some kind of professional sporting league is what my kind of dream is. I want to work in some kind of professional sporting league, and obviously wrestling's pretty close to being that. So if I was going to work in WWE, I wouldn't mind running some kind of business part of WWE. I'm not talking about creative or booking or anything like that. I mean marketing or human resource, something like that. This one is coming from Breezy with Dean, Seth, Roman, all on Raw. Do you think we'll ever see a Shield reunion take place? Nah, not for a while. Not for a while. Yes, all three are baby faces. It could happen, but I think WWE will save that for when there's a big trio of guys to go up against. What you may see, though, the closest thing is, for example, at Survivor Series, we might see a Smackdown versus Raw 5-on-5 match, and you may see all three guys of the Shield on the one team, but obviously not as the Shield, but on the same team with two other guys in the 5-on-5. So that may be the closest thing you get to it. This one's from Michael Ernie. Will Rusev show up at Money in the Bank? I hope so. I think he should, because he said on TV, not just on his Twitter, that I deserve a title shot and I'm going to be coming to SmackDown to get my title shot at Money in the Bank. He never got it. He never showed up. There needs to be some explanation for that. You can't just say, oh, let's pretend that it never happened, because it did happen. And that's just lazy. The fans want answers. Roy the Boy, if Raw was to go back to 2 hours, would you have a draft to even up the rosters? Yeah, probably. You probably would have to. I mean, put a few more guys on SmackDown. But I don't think Raw is going to go back to 2 hours anytime soon. I really don't. I wish it would, but I don't think it will. Another one from Roy. Why do you think WWE has all their superstars lose in their hometown all the time? The only explanation I can really give is it's just a way for the heel to get some cheap, easy heat for beating the hometown hero. It's not a bad idea, and it certainly does work. You obviously beat the babyface in its hometown. But, yeah, I don't know about it. I think it happens a little bit too often. And I think also getting a big win in their hometown is a good thing as well. I think that also has a great effect as well in getting a better reaction out of that crowd. So, especially, look, obviously the next one is going to be Randy in his hometown against Jinder. So I'm sure Randy might get an above average reaction than usual. So I don't think Randy's going to win, but for example, if Randy was to win, I think he'd get a great reaction if he won the championship, for example. This one is from Aomide Borisade. Hopefully I got that one right. He said, when watching old school Raw and SmackDown, do you watch all the matches and promos or just the main events and promos? Definitely watch the promos. You got to watch the promos. They're the best bit, especially when you're watching the older stuff. The promos back in the day were awesome. But no, I do watch most of the matches. Sometimes I do skip it. Look, it may be a different era, a different time, but I still find myself skipping the cruiserweight matches. I have no interest in that back in 2005 and in 2017. Just goes to show WWE cannot book cruiserweights in any era. The women's segments I don't really skip very often because mainly the women are just doing bikini contests and bra and panty matches and whatever. So, I mean, who would want to skip that, quite honestly? And right now in 2005, we see Lita starting to kind of rise on her own a little bit, and Trish Stratus is doing as a heel, so that's been pretty good. So the women hasn't been too bad. But the only thing I really skip is sometimes some lousy tag matches and some cruiserweight matches. Just guys that I don't really have any interest in and never really made it far. For example, like the Heartthrobs, their matches or whatever. Don't really care about that. And that is all we have for this week's edition of the podcast. Thank you very much for listening in, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to send in a question for next week's episode, you can do so by heading over to the BrendenPlayz forums at BrendenPlayz.com/forums. It's absolutely free. You can send your question in there. You can also do it on the Facebook page. We generally post the Facebook post after Smackdown every week, so keep an eye out for that and check that one out and leave a question there. And also in the YouTube comment section down below of this video. So make sure you do that. The more questions, the better. I like to answer as many as I possibly can. So keep on sending them in. I'll keep on answering them. Also, as you heard, a voicemail. BrendenPlayz.com. Click on the green button on the right-hand side of the page. You can leave a voicemail there as well. Thank you very much for listening in, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you all next Thursday.